Hey, hey, hey. How's everybody doing? Episode 38, MAME Politics. Thank you for joining me today. Today I will be playing the 1986 Exidy game, Chiller. I hope everybody enjoys Chiller. I think it's probably one of the most intriguing, strange little gems of a game. And I don't say gem because it's a great game or it plays amazing or it's one of my favorite games or anything like that. Just cruising over to the chat now to say hello to everybody. I'm logged into the wrong YouTube account. Give me a second. I know. These streams are always real unprofessional. Real unprofessional. God damn it, why does it say Rampage again? I don't know why it still says that. Okay, I'm coming in to say hi to you guys. It's weird. God damn it, why does it say Rampage? Hey, JC. Yeah, what the hell? I don't know why it says Rampage still. There's a glitch. There's a glitch. I have not seen Picard yet, Trish. How's it going? I have not seen any episodes of it. I just am not that interested in it, but I still plan to watch it. I just don't care. I don't know. I mean, actually, the only Star Trek thing I'm interested in right now is Noah. No, I think his name is Noah Haley, the guy who was behind the Fargo season 2 TV series and the Legion TV series on FX. He's actually the one who's like in line to direct the next Star Trek movie, which I guess is going to be another reboot. They're not going to use the same cast. Chris Pine is too expensive now. So that'll be interesting to see what he's going to do because I think he's definitely more interesting than J.J. Abrams or Roberto Orci or whoever else wrote those Star Trek movies. So this game Chiller, as you guys can see from the screen right now, it's a surprisingly violent video game from the mid 80s. And it's not like realistic blood and gore, but it's by most measurements highly inappropriate. So, for example, the first level on this game Chiller is you shooting up a torture chamber, and you could blow the body parts off of like a naked woman who's getting tortured. You can blow the head off of a guy who's getting tortured. It's pretty weird. You can also like shoot the torture machine crank so that it like pulls the person's body in half and stuff like that. So from what I know about Exidy, I want to say they're an American company, but I'm not 100% sure. I think that they might be British. I'm not completely sure. Oh no, it is actually. Oh, this is actually interesting. Okay, so now this is all coming back to me. So Exidy was one of the only other game companies making games in the South Bay, along with Atari and some other lesser known companies. Exidy was a very obscure game company that has, if you look on Wikipedia, Exidy has about 40 games under their belt, ranging from 1975 all the way to 1996. And I guess they had a big gap. One of their previous games came out in 1989 called Twister, and then their next game was called Turbo Ticket in 1996. So that's how long of a gap there was there in the 90s. But this game company was still extremely prolific. I mean, you could see that they're advertising right there. Crossbow, Cheyenne, Combat, Crackshot. Those are other games that were in the arcades by Exidy around this time period. So yeah, let's give this a little bit of a play because I feel like I'm the curiosity of anybody who hasn't seen this game. I would kill me if I hadn't seen it before. So I'm going to show it to you guys right now, right off the bat. Hey Shane, hey White Seed, hey Ned, hey Black Fox, hey Furious, Hey Persona, hey Andy, how's it going? Um, so the only unfortunate thing about playing this game today is that I have to do it off of a laptop because the Pandora's Box system's joysticks don't work very well on a lot of these light gun games. Even though they work fine on some of them, and you can move the joystick around perfectly, on this game it doesn't work. Another game it doesn't work on is Jurassic Park, which is a bummer because I really want to play that for you guys at some point. But so I set up a laptop today with a mouse to be able to play this because it's really the only way I could figure out how to do it. So let's check this out. Let's check out Chiller. You can hear that nice digitized sound coming through. Real nice. All right, so here's Chiller. Here's Chiller. I'll reposition myself a little bit. Okay. So the first level is the torture chamber, which I think is like the goriest level. It's sort of weird that they would have made. So there I am, blowing the leg off this guy. So you gotta shoot the head off. I could squash this guy. Check this out. I like squash his head. Like, shoot, I guess I just shoot all those severed heads up there. Kill this woman who's getting tortured for no reason. This poor woman. Shoot that guy. I don't know what else I can shoot. Oh, I can shoot. Can I shoot these body parts on the ground? Oh, I can. Weird. That's creepy. What do you guys think of this game? Are you a fan of Chiller so far? It's pretty weird, right? Imagine if you had kids. Like, Mortal Kombat's one thing, but imagine if you had kids in 1986 and you took them to an arcade and they had this game. You'd be pretty, I think you'd be pretty disturbed. I mean, I probably would be. So this one is not as gory, but it's pretty gory too. So I'm gonna make this woman cut her in half. See, look, she's in her little underwear. That guy is in a Speedo. I just killed him. Just gonna mutilate his body here a little bit. Gotta hit that leg. Oh, wait. Wait, how do I lower this guy in there? Oh, okay, I gotta shoot that. There. Oh, shit, look at the alligator bit his leg. See that? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's so good. Look. Holy shit. So this game company created all these games, like, when I was growing up in the Bay Area, not too far away from where I lived. And it's weird that this game company was so prolific. I'm wondering how much money they actually made, because making arcade machines is like, you know, seems like it would take a lot of overhead, I would think. It's not, what the hell? Game over. What? Pump that shit with credits, dude. I'm continuing. Fuck that. All right. So I'm. All right, here we go. Boom. Cut her in half. Shoot her legs. Shoot his legs. Seems like you just have to like kill all the humans. I'm not really sure, honestly, what you're supposed to do. Okay, so I guess I shot enough monsters as a monster meter. Bird Worldist. I'm sorry that it still says Rampage episode 35 on here. I have no idea why it still says that. I'm playing a game right now called Chiller from 1986. Totally different game. Made by a company called Exidy. how many fucking shots it take to kill that goddamn dog? The fuck? Forever. This one's hard. Not enough monsters here to shoot. Shit, motherfucker, come on. Shit. Yeah, White Seed. What kind of sadistic person do you think made this game? Isn't that weird? You would think, I mean, I don't know, not to spoil your craziest, like, I don't even know what I'm doing right there. So yeah, that's Chiller. I don't know. Should I keep playing? I feel like just talking to you guys at this point. Maybe I'll pull up another game later, but maybe I'll pull up another Exidy game, actually. How about that? One that's not as bizarre as Chiller. There was a game named Cheyenne. Is it Cheyenne? Cheyenne? Seems like it's actually a little bit cooler of a game than Chiller. Like it's got more going on. So maybe I'll pull that one up next. Yeah, the sound effects are weird. They're bad. They're very bad. It doesn't have any form of it had some like sound chip stuff going on. There was some like tones happening, but for the most part it's like bad digitized sound. Really bad digitized sound. Ned Ryerson, what is the concept of this game? Breaking into a torture dungeon and going on a shooting spree? Yeah. That's pretty much it. You nailed it. You know, it's crazy. Out here in the Bay Area, we have hundreds of Indian restaurants. Hundreds. Especially like in Berkeley and Oakland. I mean, probably the two cities combined, there's probably at least 100 different ones. And they're all mostly very average. And it sucks because I think I got spoiled living in Fremont, California for 2 years. And I discovered sort of Pakistani style Indian cuisine, like the more, which is basically Pakistani food. It's just a lot of their takes on traditional Indian dishes are so much better than traditional Indian dishes. Even if you like simple stuff like chicken tikka masala or saag paneer. There's a restaurant in Fremont called Shalimar that I think has a San Francisco location now too that is incredible. And there's also another Pakistani style restaurant in San Francisco called Curry Leaf. And honestly, that's like those are the only two Indian restaurants I love. Yes, Bird World is Pakistani style uses beef. If anybody's actually tried Pakistani beef, like a beef dish from a Pakistani restaurant, it's pretty unusual. It's like very, very, very oily. I remember my wife ordered something that last time we were at Shalimar that was beef based, and it was like the oiliest, softest beef ever, like floating in like a pool of oil. It was really different than anything I've experienced before with a beef dish. Tom Collector. It's actually kind of comical, he says. Like some dude is excited to do some torturing and some guy breaks in his dungeon, shoots everybody up, and then ruins all his fun, steals his thunder. Yeah. Yeah. Terror Toddler. I did not see the useful idiot's appearance of Crystal Ball saying that Gabbard has principles that were consistent across administrations. Well, she's not wrong entirely about that statement because Tulsi's in my opinion, Islamophobia has been consistent across every administration so far. Well, not completely consistent because she used to have a harsher, more Sam Harris flavored version of Islamophobia that she would put out in the media during the Obama administration to attack Obama from the right. So she's actually evolved that rhetoric since then, and now she plays into the Salafi jihadism, Wahhabism paradigm. And I think that, honestly, to be completely 100% honest, I think it is dog whistling, barely dog whistling for Islamophobes. It's trying to create some sort of weird union between anti-imperialists and Islamophobic people on the right. And I just don't, that's not the world I play in. And you guys already know that. Some neighbor's pissed off about the screaming next door. No, Terror Toddler, because I think Sam Harris had a much more of an influence over liberals and reactionaries than someone like Iverson has. So yeah, I mean, South of the Border Smoker says, to me, the best foods are Greek, Lebanese, and Turkish in India and Pakistan. I never had Lebanese or Turkish food. Never had it. Um, I think maybe I've had Lebanese food once. Maybe. I don't think I. Yeah, I don't think so. So, I want to talk to you guys about a few things today. One really amusing thing to me is how Trump and his family, Don Jr. and other people from his family, are now pushing Russiagate rhetoric, paranoid Russiagate rhetoric against Bernie Sanders, which is really odd, of course, but it's also like predictable. I mean, um, Trump even brought up Bernie vacation in the Soviet Union in a rally last night for the reason that Russia wants him to win. Um, very, very funny. So I tweeted today that the Trump family are now Russiagators because they're pretty much sounding like the the neoliberal Democrats are about Bernie. And just like Don Jr. uses everything they can, like Trump uses any rhetoric he can to slam his opponent. This is a similar thing. It doesn't matter that him and his own family are being accused of being like Russian puppets. They'll just like use any attack they can. I think that's generally the way they operate. Just in the same way that Roger Stone and the Trump campaign used Bill Clinton as a rapist as one of their weird ploys to get elected, because Trump is probably a rapist too. I mean, he's had many, many rape allegations against him, many sexual harassment allegations. He's on tape admitting to doing things that sound, pretty rapey. So that was that. It doesn't matter that Trump is probably on some level a rapist or a sexual predator. If they can slam Bill Clinton about that, over and over again, and then on top of that, pile on Pizzagate, so even Trump's Epstein connections won't matter. The deal's done, dude. That's like kind of brilliant political strategy right there. Yeah, Trish, I did see the WAPO articles about Sanders in Russia. And what's really funny to me is it says that Trump's own intelligence officials are the ones who briefed the Bernie campaign about Russian influence. Isn't that funny? And all these neoliberals are now being like, what? The Bernie campaign doesn't listen to the intelligence community? It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're the people saying that Trump is rigging all the people that work for him underneath him. So why are you saying it's just like the logic is so out the window that these neoliberals are now saying that the Bernie campaign is not taking seriously enough Trump's intelligence community assessment. It's like, what the hell is happening? Hey, you should bring her on this chat sometime, Shane. You should bring her. And I might have done done it again and put some bait out there for people to come into the chat to be disruptive. So don't be surprised if that happens about halfway through. Um, we have our trusty mod here, Furious Psyop, to clean house in case anything gets too hairy. Um, yeah, come on in, everybody. Interact. So, what do you guys think about Tom Cotton? Do you pay much attention to him? Because I would say he's possibly one of the most dangerous senators right now. Um, the big. I mean, I used to think it was like Marco Rubio, McCain, Lindsey Graham, but I'm seeing Tom Cotton positioning himself to be like the most hawkish, war hungry conduit for neoconservative bloodthirst in DC right now. And it's pretty disturbing. He's sort of tapping into a conspiratorial narrative about the coronavirus to try to fearmonger about China trying to like attack us. And also, what do you guys think about how weird it is that now it seems to be a commonly believed thing that Chinese citizens or the government has a conspiracy to try to kill Americans with fentanyl? Is it just me, or does that seem like a really xenophobic, fake as fuck narrative? I mean, because who invented fentanyl? It was U.S. pharmaceutical companies. Like, why? And also, we're blaming China's fentanyl for like all these overdoses here. We still have terrible, terrible draconian drug laws where we treat addicts of heroin as criminals, as felons. So it's really funny to me that that's like a commonly espoused thing that like, oh yeah, China's totally trying to murder us with fentanyl. It's like, what? Um, they could do a better job. I mean, actually, that's funny because it kind of reminds me of the lead in the Chinese drywall stuff. Do you remember that lead in children's toys? They didn't. People didn't go as far as thinking that was a conspiracy to kill children and people like homeowners. Um, but I'm always just very suspicious of the way people talk about this China stuff. It always seems like a what is that thing from 1984 where they yell at the screen? It just seems like yet another excuse to point outward and not self-reflect on how fucked up our country is. Trish says Cotton will be running for president next. That would be absolutely horrifying. Minute of Hate. Yeah, that's what it's called. The Catch 22. And also, I hear this like lie being said a lot that all the how do you say cannabinoid analogs like the fake weed, the K2, the spice, that there's people saying that China is making that stuff to try to like kill Americans. Well, I was following that from the very beginning. It was invented by American chemists. So why is China again getting the blame? Wait, because they're producing it and exporting it here? I actually years ago I bought some of that stuff pure powder form from an American vendor like 2 years ago, just because I was curious about it. It was actually terrible. I highly recommend against trying it. I smoked it, and I remember like the first couple times I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of like weed. It's a little weirder. Um, and then the more you try it, the kind of creepier it gets, and you realize that it has the potential to be like a bad trip. So I would highly recommend against doing any of those marijuana analogs, K2 or spice. They do have dangerous side effects, for sure. I mean, there's videos online of people like having seizures on it and stuff. People don't even really understand how it works, anyways. It hasn't even really had like widespread human testing done with it. So did you guys see this weird Subway ad / Mike Bloomberg ad that was posted today? I'll show it to you. Tell me what you guys think of this. I for some reason I found this really amusing. Maybe it's just because I find like glitches especially amusing. Furious psyop, yeah. I don't toy with that stuff anymore. This was a couple years ago. Um, yeah, it's just straight weed for me at this point. Um, so check out this ad I just posted in here, and once you get,
peppers,
whoops,
lots of pickles,
once
lots of onions, lots of
once you get to the part in the video where Bloomberg says lots of onions, lots of pickles, watch that shit. Watch this video I just posted, and tell me if this same bizarre glitch happens when you guys watch a video. Because it's fucking weird. Like, why would they even keep this video online? Someone could probably just recompress it and re-upload it, and it would play fine. But then it got me thinking, like, what would a campaign get away with? This is when it gets weird. So Michael Bloomberg is obviously he's $60 billion wealthy. He clearly doesn't want to do the legwork to like do the debates or even like do campaign commercials. I mean, if you're worth $60 billion, why would you want to do any of that shit? I mean, it takes work, it takes energy. So my theory is that someone like Mike Bloomberg has the resources and money to be able to actually deep fake himself in political ads. So someone like him could actually make like hundreds of automatically generated like stock footage style edited together ads where he deep fakes his own face onto just like a guy in a suit. He should just hire a stand-in actor that's his same height and has the same hairdo and do deep fake of himself. But this video is weird to me because it looks like it's like a very strange looking glitch. It almost looks like it's CGI. The subway cooler in the background like starts floating. A piece of it flies off and like floats to the top. It's really fun. Yes, Tom Collector, I agree with what you're saying. Low res will be weaponized in the future. Well, the weird thing about saying that, Tom, is that I feel like low res was already weaponized when I jumped into politics with the fake beheading video. Part of the reason we made the fake beheading video is because when we saw the Nick Berg beheading video, as horrifying as the video was, one of our first thoughts was, this video is so low resolution that it could really show anything. Like, so the fact that it was so low resolution and hard to see what was going on, and the media was sort of telling you what was happening in the video was very interesting to me because it really could have been of anything. It could have been like a super grainy video you can't see anything on. And they would just be like, yeah, this is Nick Berg getting his head cut off. So that's how we knew that we could make something really amateur, really low quality, and that it might actually be believed by some people. We didn't realize it was going to go as far as it did and get picked up by AP as a real video. That was shocking. But we knew that because people were sort of spreading around these really low resolution videos that it might have a chance of tricking someone. Trish, yeah, I don't blame you. The beheading videos that were released during the Iraq War, Afghanistan War I mean, you'll never be the same again after you watch them. I do not recommend watching them. Some of the most famous, notorious beheading videos, though, the ones that you hear about in the news, like James Foley, Nick Berg, Daniel Pearl, some of those ones, you'll never ever. The actual videos that were produced of those events, they're really not that gory. They actually don't show the point of the beheading. And I think this is something that ISIS actually took a cue from later, is they wanted to recruit people. They didn't want to like scare people and turn people's stomachs too much with those videos. So even though in some of those videos they're actually really killing people, they don't show the actual point of death in a lot of them. So like in all the ISIS beheading videos, the ones that were officially released, the ones that I've seen at least, they do not show people actually getting their head cut off. It shows like the before and after. Now, this led a lot of people into thinking that the videos could be faked. Um, but I don't think that they're faked. I've sort of come to the conclusion over time that ISIS has an understanding of what is too far in terms of a shocking, horrifying, gory snuff video. Um, and they've actually tried to make this balance of being like, well, we need to recruit people, we need these videos to spread around, and we need them to scare people, but we don't want them to like turn people's stomachs to the point of like nobody wanting to be part of our organization. So that, I mean, I think that had something to do with it, but I'm just totally speculating there. Probably the most graphic beheading videos were coming out during the Afghanistan and Iraq war before ISIS actually came onto the scene. And some of those are absolutely brutal. You see the person alive, the whole time, unedited, getting their head cut off. And I don't even want to describe it because it's so haunting. I mean, even just the sound of someone getting their head cut off is so horrifying that it's yeah. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't know how we got on this subject, but yeah, the bird world list, that is a really interesting thing. So did that money that was spent on making those videos, did that go to ISIS videos? Which ones were funded by US money? Which ones are fake? Like that whole article really blew the lid open on that, but it's still a black box of trying to figure out how many videos have we seen from the Middle East are fake, how many of these people were hired or told to do this by some other organization. We simply don't know. Maybe in some instances there's been a reveal of some of that, but we do not know. There was a really weird alien autopsy style video floating around the internet a long time ago, and one of my first live streams that I ever did was I was trying to debunk and explain why this one video floating around on the internet was fake. And it was a video showing a soundstage against a blue screen of someone pretending to be Jihadi John cutting off James Foley's head, as if it was filmed on like a US soundstage secretly somewhere in some bunker. Now you can find this on my YouTube channel. It's called Why This ISIS Video is a Meta Hoax. And I go on for about an hour giving my breakdown of why I think that the video itself is fake. And it's in the vein of alien autopsy. Andrew Rojas, is there heat between Greenwald and Taibbi? All I know about that is that Taibbi was supposed to eventually launch his own outlet like The Intercept from First Look Media, being funded by Pierre Omidyar. Now, there was like some kind of weird internal insurrection against Taibbi around the same time that his whole plan to launch this outlet, I guess, started to collapse. People accused him of sexual harassment, being really loud or rude or something. And I think even Glenn Greenwald wrote something explaining that this is what happened in the office and here's why people don't like Taibbi anymore. And I think he later sort of backpedaled from those accusations a little bit, but I mean, from what I understand, it was mostly just business. I don't think that on a personal level they've really had much beef that I know of. I think it was just like a business falling out. That, this billionaire donor or funder that had bankrolled Scahill and Greenwald had also promised to bankroll Taibbi, and then suddenly the deal falls through. So, I don't know. That's all I really know. Oh, Peter H., that was a debate between Nico House and somebody from Jacobin, where there was moderated by someone else. So at least Nico is still willing to debate people about that. But I've also recently heard things about him that were very troubling. Like, I didn't realize he was saying things about the Vegas shooting that were kind of Alex Jonesy. I didn't realize that he was saying things about Parkland. This is what I've been told. I don't know if he's I don't know if he's actually said this, what he said, but I was told in the last few days that he did sort of veer into that territory on Parkland as well, and that's surprising. I didn't know anything about that. I do remember them trying to write smear pieces about Tulsi for appearing on a conspiracy podcast, and they used Nico House as the proxy smear attempt on her. But I didn't really understand why they were calling him a conspiracy theorist, other than him dabbling into the Seth Rich story. I thought that was what it was all about, but apparently it wasn't. It was actually, the article was about how he was a quote unquote Vegas truther. I don't know what he said about Vegas. So I don't know. I'm just kind of mostly just relaying what I was told. Trish, is the Intercept still pushing dodgy propaganda about Iran? Not at the moment they aren't, but I mean the fact that they pushed out all those weird leaks, right when before all that stuff happened with Soleimani and stuff, that was extremely suspicious, extremely, and I don't think we can forget that. How convenient that was. And we really need to look at anything else the Intercept leaks in the future and what world events follow that. Like what shifts that causes. Because, it's one thing to be like, that seems like they're trying to do anti-Iranian propaganda. But then when an event as crazy as the Soleimani assassination and that escalation happens like immediately afterwards, then you really have to wonder, holy shit, maybe this was like a planted leak. I mean, because that's what it seems like, right? I mean, it seems like a planted leak. I don't know what it was. There's people who were trying to figure that out. Yeah, Peter H. Democracy Now! That's when I first really noticed their foreign policy perspective was turning really bad, was Libya. I remember that. And that actually was the moment when things started to get real wacky in this country in terms of the anti-war movement. That was when things started to get really weird. And that continued to be a trend with Syria, where you had this divide among leftists or anti-war people, where some of them were actually like, hell yeah, Gaddafi's a fucking authoritarian. Let's go get him. And it's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I mean, I've said this here on the show before that, excuse me, that the Libya bombing had started happening like at the peak of Occupy. And almost nobody at Occupy Oakland, Occupy Wall Street was talking about it. It was like almost like completely ignored. Tom Collector says Showtime had this like insane anti-Libya, anti-Gaddafi documentary that was some of the most hardcore propaganda ever. Interesting. Well, I mean, I don't know if this is even fair to talk about this because I don't really know these people. They run it's like a grocery store. I don't know what, I mean, yeah, I guess you call it a grocery store in the town that I live in. And I remember they were really actually, when they met me and my sister, we saw that they had some like bumper stickers or some signage behind their counter that said something like fuck the war on terror or something like that. So we started talking to them, and we would talk to them like every time we would see them about Media Roots and the stuff we were doing, and they were really excited about it. And we didn't realize actually at the time that they were Libyan. And pretty much until that bombing happened, every time we would go in there, we would talk to them about it. They were like fully on board with all of our sort of ideas about, the American government, the war on terror. And then as soon as that happened, they fully got on board with the Obama bombing campaign, NATO bombing campaign of Libya, and were like celebrating it. And I remember I actually happened to walk in there like the day or two after the bombing had started, and it was just really kind of shocking. And I remember thinking, well, maybe I don't know enough about Gaddafi to understand like why they're so happy. But I remember being like disturbed by that they seem to have a really, strong belief that the war on terror was fake, that the Americans, were criminals, that bombing all these countries was war crimes. But as soon as it got to Libya, I remember when that happened, thinking like, I don't understand this. Um, it'd be interesting to talk to them now about that to see how they feel now, because maybe I could see maybe certain Libyans who maybe didn't have family there anymore or something, like acting excited at the time, getting sucked into it, and then looking back on it now, maybe realizing how awful it was. Like I honestly don't know. Maybe some of you guys actually know um, Libyans in here and could speak to them about that. So Lori and I are going to see comedian Dan Soder this weekend. Do you know who Dan Soder is? You guys familiar with him? I don't know. I personally really dig him. He's kind of in that like New York comedy scene, like edge lord kind of comedy scene, but a lot of his his material is great. Like his special on Comedy Central, one of the best specials I've seen in a few years. Um, and I watch a lot of comedy specials. Frankly, most comedy specials are average, or honestly, kind of like partly bombs. I watched a Hannibal Buress special like a year and a half ago, and I honestly felt like he was bombing, and he still turned a special. It's weird when you see certain specials and you're like, why did they release this? And even when and as an audio engineer, I can totally tell when they're doing, so they don't use laugh tracks anymore, but they don't have to, because here's what they do now is they do what's called sweetening up the laughter. They put microphones in the back, they put microphones like around the audience, and basically the engineer can mix in a certain volume amount of laughter and boost it after every joke to make it sound like every joke is popping. But you can easily tell when you watch a comedy special when it's sweetened up laughter versus actual real organic audience laughter. And frankly, it actually does sound like a laugh track, because it is an artificial technique. It's not using pre-recorded laughing samples, but it is using artificially volume boosted little laughs here and there in the corner of the audience to make it sound like the whole audience is laughing. Hey Modus, how's it going? There's something else I wanted to mention to you guys today. I feel like my subjects are kind of boring. Um, oh yeah, we just put out a new Media Roots radio episode yesterday, called "Pinkwashing Israeli Apartheid and U.S. Empire: Gays Against Mayor Pete." We talked to an activist named Ryan Wentz all about Israeli pinkwashing and his experience studying abroad in University of Tel Aviv for 6 months. Highly recommend checking that out. It was a really good discussion, especially if you liked the Yasha Levine interview we did. Ned Ryerson, yeah, I actually do like a lot of the stand-up comedians in the Rogan podcast sphere. Dan Soder is one of them. He's been on Rogan at least once, I think. Um, I like some of the comedians from Legion of Skanks. I like Big J as a comedian. Um, I think Dave Smith is also funny. Um, I like I guess I tend to like some of those New York comedians more than the LA ones. Even though politically speaking, they're probably more far away from my politics than some of the LA ones are. Um, like I thought what happened to Ari Shafir was really like I was actually surprised more comedians didn't defend him. Um, like I even talked to Tripoli about it. And I was surprised he wasn't defending him to the degree that I thought that a fellow comedian would. Because I thought that was like honestly hilarious. You know, I'm not really a basketball or sports fan, so I was like, that's fucking great. You know, to make fun of like someone that everybody loves on the day that they died. I mean, that's like kind of like classic rude humor. It's not like even politically incorrect. It's just like coming running into the room and just being like, "Fuck everybody." That's my. I mean, that's honestly like my kind of humor. Yeah, Ned. I was disappointed in that everyone threw Arya under the bus. I mean, more pathetically, all these comedians still defend people like Louis C.K. and ignore the fact that Louis C.K. is on tape saying that he broke into someone's apartment to jerk off into their underwear. Like, why is this not even on any of the Me Too stories about Louis C.K.? I find that really strange, actually. Like, why, if the media is determined to ruin Louis C.K. and take down his career, why have none of them talked about that? Why is it just all about the accusations that, in some cases, are rather unspecific about him jerking off in front of people without their permission? This is him in his own voice admitting to breaking into someone's apartment to commit a felony. I mean, that would make him a sex offender. He'd be on the sex offender registry for doing that. I mean, seriously, that's pretty crazy. And the fact that he would admit to it on the live radio show is even crazier. Like, that shows how he just doesn't think. And, you know, maybe he was lying for fun, thought it was like a funny thing to lie about, but I think it's more just showing that Louis C.K. is really fucked up. And he didn't realize that by being so unfiltered, he let something slip about the time he committed a sexual felony and broke into someone's apartment. If you guys want a link to this, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll post this right now. It's from an episode of the Opie and Anthony show. This is going to get crazy. Maybe I should just play it. What do you think?
E-Rock.
Should I just play this clip? All right, yeah. Well, might as well just play it if you guys haven't heard it. I don't know how many people have heard this. But here's Louis C.K. admitting to breaking and entering into two female nurses' apartments. Here we go.
Hilarious. This isn't gay because it doesn't include another man, but when I was a kid, we lived in a two-family house. So there was these nurses that lived together above us, and I was
sexy.
fucking, I didn't care what they looked like. Our basements were connected, so I would stay home from school pretending I was sick, and I would go down to the basement and climb. I'd go into their apartment.
Wow.
And I would find their
Ballsy.
I'd jack off in their underwear.
Wow.
And then I go back downstairs and feel horrible about myself.
Make your getaway.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys have ever heard that. Yeah, Tom, I don't think that I'm in danger of getting this taken down. If I am, well, so be it, I guess. We'll have to do another episode 38 of MAME Politics. But yeah, I just wanted to play that clip because I just find it just kind of just strange that no one's brought that up when talking about Louis C.K. And I genuinely think Louis C.K. is absolutely hilarious. Like, I still think he's really funny even after everybody's like, oh, no, he's not funny anymore. He was never funny. No, that's bullshit. You know you're lying. He's still one of the best comedians in the world. But yeah, I don't think it can be denied that he's a really twisted person. And if all these rumors were piling up against him about just jerking off in front of people, yeah, I don't think they can be taken lightly, you know? Like, Sarah Silverman and her sister both said that he used to do that in front of them. Sarah Silverman's sister said that she didn't care for it, and he still would jack off in front of her. I guess Sarah Silverman was okay with it. So yeah, it's like he's probably done it in front of so many people. It's kind of shocking in a way that he didn't get his career tanked earlier than that, to be honest. Yeah, I don't even know how I gotta get on Louis C.K. jerking off. But it is interesting because I'll see a lot of people being like, yeah, maybe what Louis C.K. did was inappropriate, but it wasn't a crime. And I'm like, wait a second. I have him on tape admitting to a sex crime. Like, here you go. Here's the link. So I see like comedians will actually use that talking point, and it's like, no. Here's the video evidence. So I don't know. I mean, I still think you should have a career, you know. Emu sings. I thought that Louis C.K. bought back his own film rights. I didn't think that they refused to release it. From what I understand, that was partly his doing to bury that film forever. I'm sure there would have been distribution companies that still would have distributed it. I mean, he is Louis C.K. It's not like you know, I don't know. But I don't know if you saw the film. It was awful. It was a truly awful, unwatchable film that reminded me of like Kevin Smith's most amateur script writing like bullshit ever. It was like shocking. The dialogue in it was so cringe. It was just weird because I don't think he's like a bad writer. I've watched his show a lot. I used to really like his show, but the movie was just like, what the fuck? It felt like Chasing Amy, like someone trying to do like a Chasing Amy homage for their film school thesis or something. That's how bad it was. It was absolutely shocking. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about today before I run. Ned, we did bring him on Media Roots actually before Russiagate became a term. We brought Mark Eames on Media Roots before anybody was talking about like Russia hysteria being a problem. He was one of the people really early on who I identified as someone who was actually really knowledgeable and well versed in the subject in order to debunk all the hysteria that was happening at the time. So that interview was really important. Abby also interviewed him on Empire Files when things got even more ramped up. But yeah, I should get him on again. John, I do have notifications for this if you subscribe to the YouTube channel. And usually I think only if you have like YouTube on your phone, maybe, does it really show you like a notification. And I did also tweet. So if you pay attention to my Twitter feed, I will say when these are starting so you can catch them. Defenders will say he was joking. Yeah, Ned, that is what they've said. That's what they've said to me. Or they've latched on to the part where he says when he was a kid. Like that he must have been a child when he did it, so it's not really that big of a deal. Well, kind of feel like he's talking about himself in his late teens doing it. So it's not like he was totally unaware of the difference between right and wrong. Andrew, no, I haven't seen any live action Matrix scenes in the Bay, and I go often to Alameda, which is where they're filming a large portion of it. I believe, just like Matrix Reloaded, they are rebuilding a fake freeway loop again at the Alameda Naval Air Base. And if that's the case, no one's getting in and out of there. Alameda is actually a perfect place to film a movie out here because there's really only 3 ways in and out of Alameda. It's an island. So like if they wanted to like hide a film production out there, they could do it very easily. Very easily. It's actually a really crazy area. It's an abandoned naval base right near Oakland, and there are still buildings with all the furniture in it. So there's an abandoned military hospital in Alameda that's fucking crazy big with all the beds, with all the equipment. I mean, it's if I ever was able to sneak in there and not be caught and be able to take pictures and stuff, that would be one of my dreams come true. Because it looks it looks like one of the most crazy like haunted hospital things like you've ever seen from like a movie. I did try actually once, and we opened the basement door and water was flooded almost all the way up to the ceiling in the basement, and it was like black water. So we were just like, fuck this. We're not going to get scuba diving gear to go into this shit. John Gold, who is the Matrix stolen from? Well, according to someone, an amateur independent author, that it was all stolen from her. However, I would argue that the aesthetics of Matrix, some parts in Matrix, especially Matrix 2 and 3, are directly stolen from panels of the Alan Moore Miracle Man comic. Specifically, the scene in Part 3 where Agent Smith is flying around with the lightning in the suit and that fight that they have in the rain. That is straight lifted out of Miracle Man. I think Miracle Man issue number 2. So if they ever made Miracle Man now in a movie, people would be like, the Matrix, or they would be like, this is a copy of the Matrix. That's Agent Smith. You know? Which is sad because the Matrix fucking lifted the shit out of that shit. I mean, the Wachowski brothers are not super original. Wachowski sisters. I didn't mean to misgender them. But I think I'm going to head out now, guys. Everybody, hope you had a good day today, and hope you do something fun. It's Friday today. And I will see you again tomorrow for a 2-player MAME Politics with Lori Kirchner. So, thanks again. Take care, everybody. Oh, should mention, if you want access to all the hidden, locked episodes of MAME Politics after they stream, about 1/3, 30% of it is hidden online. You can get access to it by becoming a Patreon subscriber of mine at patreon.com/Robbie Martin. Thanks again, guys. Take care.